Itch it up, my selector.
Due to some violent content, parental discretion is advised.
I know you're gonna dig this.
Itch it up, my selector.
Due to some violent content.
And here we are. Fortunately, I ended that early, but you know what? Special edition of Sucker Punch. Yours truly, me, Maestro, Maestro, and yours truly, Joe Habib, my brother from Boston. We found ourselves debating this issue about Dana White and the UFC after not just one, but two episodes. They were back-to-back this morning. So we figured, look, I guess we left things unsaid on camera, so we had to come back to finish the debate here in front of the cameras, live on Sucker Punch. Let's get into it. Joe, but before we do that, actually, I did want to go to a resource. Once, the very famous and well-known YouTube / Twitter boxing pundit, all right, Checkmate Boxing, he told you, Joe, use your resources. Use your resources. So I'm about to use a resource right here. I want to get Joe's response to what I'm about to play here, because apparently Joe thinks that somebody who runs a sport like this should be running boxing. So let's have a look. Let's have a listen. This is my guy from Montreal, Patrick Gavia, talking a little bit about Dana White's business practices in the UFC. And I got to ask you guys this. Is this what you'd like boxing to look like in terms of from a fighter's perspective? Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. Patrick Gavia, let's go.
So as a fighter, when you show up to a fight, you get what is called a show fee. You get that fee just for showing up. Win or lose, you get the show fee. If you win your fight, you get an additional 10K. So the loser gets 10K, the winner gets 20K. There is a possibility to make a post-fight bonus if your performance was worthy of it. Essentially, at the end of the fights, Dana and his team decide who gets a 50K bonus. Now keep in mind, this last 10 and 50K is only if you win and only if you get the bonus. If you lose the fight, you walk away with 10K. Finally, you get Reebok sponsorship money. That's $3,500. We need to discuss that.
Let the games begin. Anticipating the main event.
Back in the days before the Reebok deal, fighters were allowed to wear their own sponsors on their uniforms. Like their uniforms would display their sponsors when they would walk into the ring. That's actually how most of them dealt with having such a low pay. They would compensate with their sponsors. When the UFC made that deal with Reebok in 2015, a uniform policy came along with it, forbidding the fighters from displaying their own sponsors.
Fighters can't have independent sponsors when they walk into the cage now, and financially it seems to be a huge disaster for the fighter.
That deal cost UFC fighters on average 20 to 25K per fight, but for some of them it's much more than that. Vitor Belfort said that that deal cost them millions. He said, we are pretty much living in slavery, we can't use our own sponsors, they are banned inside the octagon.
I don't like when I see fighters suffering financially. I don't like it.
One of the ways the UFC justifies treating their fighters like that is by saying that their fighters are independent contractors. They're not employees. They can then deprive them of benefits afforded to employees under state and federal laws.
We get into all this money shit and the stuff that's going on right now. Everybody acts like this is a f***ing career. This isn't a career. This is not a career. This is an opportunity.
So how do you survive as the average UFC contractor?
Jared.
So for those of you who don't know, this is the whole Vince McMahon WWF argument that they use with professional wrestlers. And by the way, this is also the reason that Stitch Duran ended his working relationship with the UFC. Actually, it was ended for him because he was speaking up about this, but let's continue.
Cannoneer, do you anticipate fighting again or kind of waiting to see what happens in that title fight?
I'm broke, so I need to fight.
After the fight, one of the first things that you said on the mic to Daniel Cormier, which obviously drew a lot of headlines, was that you want to get back in there because, as you put it, you're broke. How dire is this situation?
Former UFC fighter Miles Jury broke down his expenses on his website. We're going to take a look at that. As a fighter, usually 10% of your purse goes to your gym, 20% to your management, 30% gets taxed.
A lot of people don't understand that when we have these fights, that we owe people money after these fights. 60% of my money is already gone between the gym, between management, between taxes.
Then you need to pay your coach. That's usually $50 to $150 per hour. You need to pay your medical licenses. So before your fight, you need to get cleared by doctors, and those expenses come out of your pocket.
On top of that, I got bills, credit cards, I got kids.
And diverse expenses that totaled $1 to $2K for Jury per camp. That can be transportation, gas, food.
That money goes. Money don't last forever.
So let's take our 10K show, 10K win purse that we discussed earlier and see how that stacks up. That's 2K in gym fees, 4K for management, 6K in taxes, $1,000 for coaching, $500 for medicals, $1,000 for miscellaneous. Total expenses, $14,500. So the fighter makes a profit of $5,500 for one fight. Fighters on average fight 2 to 3 times a year. They suffer cuts and bruises that might take 3 to 4 months to heal. That is if they're lucky and they don't get injured or need a surgery. In that case, they might only fight once a year.
And not being able to fight for the last 10 months, put a strain on our pockets.
So I'm going to leave it at that. They go in a little bit of a tragic story about Chris Weidman and the financial situation he was in when he couldn't fight. But, yeah, look, between the way he treats his fighters, Joe, and the fact that he's been unsuccessful at pretty much everything he's done in boxing so far, leads me to believe that this is not the guy to, quote-unquote, save boxing. But, I'll throw it over to you, Joe. Go for it. You're on mute.
Trying to keep me silent over here. I know you game. Why don't you play this video with Robert Garcia where he reveals, right? Let's play this video right here.
All right, go for it. We're doing a video battle now. It's a sound clash.
Watch this. Watch this.
Do I go, you go.
Let's play this video.
Joe's video's coming up.
Because you're trying to act like that the same stories don't happen in boxing. How many times have you heard a boxer tell you? I've heard boxers say this to me plenty of times, that they're broke too.
Yeah, but the thing is, when a boxer's having a problem, right?
Yeah.
He can go fight for another promotion, right?
All right. So why don't the UFC fighters go fight for PFL or one championship then if they don't like the UFC? Why are they at UFC?
So, some of them do, but go for it.
Let's play this video.
Oh, I gotta add it, or you're gonna add it?
We've a bad motherfucker, him too, but Gage. It's fucked up because those are like some of my favorite fighters. Conor, Gage, and Beeb, and they all fight each other.
But so that's why UFC is better than boxing, because they make the best fight the best. They don't wait and wait and wait.
But why are they doing that? Because
I weigh more than my dad now.
Promoter and there's nobody. They
no other show.
The promoter says you have to, and you have to. That's also why they get paid a lot less than boxers.
That's true.
Because right now, all this competition going on with so many big stars in boxing, even though they don't sell as much as UFC, but UFC is just one, so they force them. You have to, or else you don't fight.
That doesn't sound too good to me, Joe. That doesn't sound too good to me.
Forget the belt. Did the government give him a check? 4-0?
Not that I don't see. I haven't watched him that much. The day of the fight?
Yeah. How about the night before, but it was very late. But let me ask you this. He got a belt from the...
Everybody's already a champion, has a belt, There's title fights. There's title fights that I have they tell me the budget for a title like for a fighter's tower defense opponent, for the opponent, there's X amount of money. There's been promoters that have told me, tell them to make the contract for a fucking small amount and the rest make it to the promoter. I'm not gonna do shit like that. I'd rather find another opponent. You know, there's promoters that give their opponent there's a budget, for 700,000 and they give their fighter 200, 250 and they keep the rest. That's just the way boxing is.
The biggest misconception, Robert, they think just because someone fights on TV that he's getting paid.
That's how people.
But on TV, you can get paid $2,000, $6,000, $8,000.
If you hear a fighter making $1 million, he's not making $1 million. The person's for $1 million, but then don't forget,
manager,
he still has to pay sanctioning fees, which is a title fight. He still has to pay sanctioning fees, which add up. It does add up. Then they still have to pay the manager, the trainer, conditioning coach,
chef,
their coach.
Off $1 million purse, not a $1,000 or $10,000 purse.
If they pay 30% to the management and the trainers, that's already 700,000. Then you have expenses because you don't only pay your trainer, right? You have to assist and the chef, the sparring partners, this and that. Okay, so. That's another 30,000. Let's just say that's 600 and
the car that you rent, the house that you rent.
You end up with 650. Then from 650, you still have to pay 30%, 30 or 40% to the IRS. So they end up with 400. Something like that. From 1 million, 400, 450. They're lucky if they end up with 500. So that's a lot of expenses too.
It's not like people think, oh, I'm fighting for $1 million. You're really not.
So we can play the sob stories. We can play the sob stories on both sides. Once again,
are you kidding me?
Once again,
are you kidding me?
You're
playing. I played.
What did he say about boxing promoters? What they do to their fighters? How they middle nickel and dime the fighters too. And he says, oh, the boxing promoter will have 7,000 and only give the fighter like 200,000. So again, this happens with all.
Okay, so I played a video. I played a video.
Defending Al Heyman here.
I'm not defending.
You're defending a guy like Al Heyman. Who will sign,
when you're ready to let me go, let me know. Go for it. When you're ready to let me know, go. Let me go.
Another guy like Al Heyman, right? Yeah. Who will have a roster of 200 fighters.
Yeah.
And then he has his fighters only fight like once every 3 years, and they're crying that they can't get dates. And this guy Heyman is supposed to be better than Dana White.
Okay, PBC is almost finished. Number one, they're almost done. You're almost done. And everybody here knows I didn't even go to the last PBC event because of my issues with PBC pay-per-views, PBC credentialing processes. I've discussed all of it here on this channel. But let's just get this straight. I showed you a video about the average UFC fighter walking away with about $5,000 after a fight and only being able to fight 2, maybe 3 times a year. And your response to that was to show me a video that basically says that a fighter walks away with $500,000?
Off $1 million purse.
Yeah, well, at least they're getting $1 million purses. Robert Garcia is there complaining about a guy getting $1 million purse. Almost no one in the UFC gets $1 million purse. That's the whole point. That's the whole point.
You know how much my friend Franco Diorio got when he fought Hector Camacho on USA's Tuesday Night Fights?
No.
$1,500.
What year was that?
You know how much Camacho got? You know how much Camacho got?
How much?
80,000.
What year was that?
2000.
No, I mean that's not fair. But my whole thing is we can improve boxing and the way boxing is run without going to Dana White and doing what he does.
Richie LaMontagne fought.
And it's not about Al Heyman's great, therefore we need Dana White to come in and save boxing. Al Heyman's company is on the way out. They're clearly not the model for boxing either. And we did spend the first hour of Sucker Punch, 2-part show, guys. You should go check it out. Hour 1's on Joe's channel. Hour 2's on my channel. okay, essentially saying that the PBC is not the model and that Al Heyman has essentially circumvented the Ali Act by not becoming a licensed manager or a licensed promoter. So he can't be in contravention of a law that is out there to govern the responsibilities and the duties of people that hold state licenses, meaning managers and promoters. We came to a common ground on that. But I'm not saying that Al Heyman is the poster child here of how to run a boxing company or boxing promotion. I'm saying that the UFC is definitely not the way to go. Go for it.
So before Turki Alalshikh came along, was boxing in a good place?
I mean, there would be people who argue that it's not even in a good place right now. I would say that before he came along, we weren't seeing a lot of the big fights that we would have liked to see, and I would argue that some of the fights we've seen may not have happened without his involvement. I'm thinking about two specifically. Better Beeb against Bivol, not just one, but two. There was a lot of issues with making that fight take place because it was two Russian fighters and the ban on Russians, et cetera, et cetera. The other one, obviously, was Tyson Fury against Usyk, right? He made those two fights happen. They were huge fights. I don't know if they would have happened otherwise. We also had Queensberry versus Matchroom, 5v5. Big event for the UK. I enjoyed the build up to it. I don't think we would have seen Matchroom versus Queensberry on the same show without Turki. But here's my thing. Yeah. If we're going to argue that Turki improved things, which I agree, the next logical question is, well, if he's doing so great, why the hell do we need Dana White?
Well,
I think he's doing fine without Dana White.
Why does Turki Alalshikh need Eddie Hearn, Bob Arum, and Frank Warren if he could?
Because they have fighters under contract that he wants to do business with. Dana White doesn't have any fighters under contract that I care about watching on major events.
You don't know that.
His biggest fighter is Callum Walsh.
You don't know that.
That's his biggest fighter.
You don't know that.
Who are you interested in seeing that signed to he won't even allow his guys to fight boxers in exhibition fights.
So you don't trust Turki Alalshikh's judgment here then? You think a guy who's done all these great things for boxing, you think that he doesn't know what he's doing? This was a guy that brought Eddie Hearn and Frank Warren to. Did you ever think in your wildest dreams you'd ever see Frank Warren and Eddie Hearn working on the same card?
No, definitely not. Turki Alalshikh gets all credit for that.
So you think forget about Dana White.
Yeah.
You're disrespecting Turki Alalshikh here, His Excellency. You think that he doesn't know what he's doing right now.
No.
You won't even give this guy the benefit of the doubt.
What I'm saying is he can go create this league. Mm-hmm. He can get fighters like Callum Walsh to fight, right, against fighters of that caliber. If that's what they want, they can have those fights. All due respect, I'll watch it. I mean, I watch most boxing, although I don't watch anything on UFC Fight Pass because I'm not subscribed to it. But that doesn't mean that this is going to save boxing. I don't think this is going to save boxing. I don't think this league is the solution to what are problems inside boxing. I don't think that this league run by Dana White is going to really do anything better than what's going on right now. I just don't see it.
Has Turki Alalshikh made boxing better since he's been involved in the sport?
He has. Has Dana White made boxing better since he's been involved in the sport?
Well, he works for Turki Alalshikh.
No. He's been TKO Promotions, which he started, was created before this announcement. He's been doing fights on Fight Pass. He's been talking for years about entering the boxing market. Yeah. Has he succeeded at boxing so far?
He hasn't succeeded in boxing so far because he's never jumped in with
what
a guy
stopped
like
him? What stopped him from succeeding? He's
worth
a lot of money. He's backed by
backing him.
So he needs Turki Alalshikh to succeed at boxing.
Yeah.
Okay.
Just like he needed the Fertitta brothers to finance him so he could.
Right. And Bob Arum, Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, all of them were giving us fights without the need for Turkey.
So why
did he improve things by having
why
cross
couldn't
collaborative fights? Yes.
Why couldn't they do Fury versus Usyk without Turki Alalshikh? These promoters are basically telling you that
they wanted the money from him.
Okay. So again, Dana White is basically an employee here, just like Eddie Hearn, Frank Warren, and Bob Aramart. So again, you're disrespecting Turki Alalshikh after all the great things he's done, and you're not giving him credit, and you don't believe all these things that were said that couldn't have been done that Turki Alalshikh has achieved. All these things that were said couldn't be done with the UFC and with the Slap League and all the things that Dana White's been involved with. Eddie Hearn has said that he thinks Dana White's the best promoter in combat sports. Now why are you disrespecting Eddie Hearn's judgment?
Eddie said that he wishes essentially he could have the UFC model. I'm sure he did. I'm sure he does. I'm sure Eddie Hearn would want to control the fighters' contracts that way and have a matchroom world championship belt and do all of the things that Dana White gets away with. But that doesn't mean that I think it's a good thing.
Do you want to correct the false statement you made on the last show when you said that the UFC does their own rankings when I told you they don't? You want to pull that up? It's on their own website where they have the media members actually vote on the rankings, and the media members are responsible.
Are these public votes?
Yes.
So they're public votes. We know what media member voted for what fighter, and we have an open source way of verifying that what these independent people voted for is what the UFC ended up doing. Or do we just have a statement on the UFC's website saying that they do something a certain way?
So this can't be verified, is what you're saying?
I don't know. Trust and verify. I need to verify.
So
I don't want a statement from the UFC website. I want an open source bit of information that shows who voted for who and how we got to this ranking. Because I'll tell you what I do see, Joe, all over YouTube. Dana White forced this fight. Dana White's making that fight happen. Dana White's great because Dana White gives us the fights we want.
Yeah. Sort of like what PBC does.
So is it Dana White or is it Dana White or is it the independent ranking?
Sort of like what PBC does when they shelve a guy for 3 years.
Yeah. Again, PBC isn't the model.
Sort of like when a promoter will shelve a guy for 3 years. Like again, so you're saying that you're accusing the PBC of lying about that then. So you're saying that that's not true.
I mean, I don't take the word of any promoter without some way of verifying what they're saying.
So you've
been lied to by promoters on your own channel. Promoters tell us stuff all the time that ends up not being true. I want if the UFC is saying, oh yeah, we have media members do our
So you don't believe Kevin Iole either? Kevin Iole's lying?
Kevin Iole?
Yeah.
Kevin Iole, what is he saying? I don't know what he's saying specifically.
He verifies it.
What is he verifying?
What I just told you. He has
How?
He votes on rankings.
Okay, he votes on rankings.
Yeah.
Again, people can vote on all kind of things.
But
here's the question:
do you vote on
let me ask you this:
do you vote on the Hall of Fame?
I'm answering your question. If Kevin Iole votes for something and some other journalist votes for something and it goes into a ballot and we don't know who voted for what, and then the result of that behind the scenes goes to Dana White, who says in all kind of interviews, I have the power to make this fight happen, that fight happen. UFC is great because the best fight the best.
Yeah, like all promoters.
Do you really think that if Kevin Iole wants a fight to happen and Dana White doesn't want a fight to happen, that fight is going to happen?
That's irrelevant.
Well, that's the only way to know if this is a legitimate process or not.
Does the UFC do its own rankings, or is there an outside source doing it, like the media members? Yes or no?
I have no idea.
I just told you they did. Put it up.
Oh, where is it?
Yeah, put it up.
I don't see anything to share.
So you're saying that they're actually gonna put up false statements?
I'm looking for what you're sharing with me. I don't see it anywhere.
Let me see if I can. I have to.
I do have the other thing that we disagreed on. I could pull up this. The
And
thing
you also
on.
you also made another false statement. You said the UFC is a sanctioning body.
This is the one. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the one, right?
They're actually they're listed as a promotional company. They're not a sanctioning body.
Yeah, when I say sanctioning body,
Mm-hmm.
I'm not talking about an athletic commission,
Mm-hmm.
right? So, for instance, who sanctions the NFL?
Not sure. I mean,
Who sanctions the NBA?
They're a league.
Yeah, just like the UFC is a league. They
Like I told
essentially,
you.
yeah.
They're a league.
So
They're
they
not-
have their own belt. They have their own rankings.
Okay.
This thing here says sanctioning body and then goes on to talk about athletic commissions. Athletic commissions aren't sanctioning bodies. The sanctioning bodies are the WBA, the WBC, the IBF.
Correct.
But if you notice here, it doesn't say that. It says that the sanctioning bodies are the athletic organizations. They're not. Those are supervising bodies. Those are the ones that supervise the fighters' medicals, supervise the medical staff, the judges, the referees. That's not a sanctioning body. The sanctioning body is the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO. So this is incorrect.
No, it's not. It's not incorrect because you do have to pay a commission, a sanctioning fee.
That's not a sanctioning fee. That's the commission. That's a fee to the commission. That's not sanctioning fees go to the WBC, the IBF, the IBO, the et cetera.
You have to pay sanctioning fees to commissions too because they sanction the bout.
No, they
It has to be-
supervise. They supervise the
No,
bout.
they sanction it. It's the same thing.
Okay, sanction. So
New
if it's the same
commissions, watch
thing,
this,
if
new
it's the same
commissions,
thing, why
new
is there
commissions.
why is there a New York State Athletic Commission? The WBC is already sanctioning the event. They're the sanctioning body.
No, it's different.
So there's no need for the New York State Athletic Commission then.
No, there is a need because they sanction the bout.
No, the WBC, WBA, IBF,
That's not
IBO,
true.
they sanction the bout.
That's not true.
The event is supervised by
That's
the
not
state
true.
authority.
In order for it to be a sanctioned event, the commission has to sanction it.
Yes, but they're not a sanctioning body. When people
No, but
talk about
they sanction events though.
yes, but when I'm talking about the UFC being a sanctioning body, I'm talking about the belt, the ranking,
They're
all
not-
of the stuff that
they're
people
not a
mean.
sanctioning body. They're a promotional company.
All right, so who sanctions the NFL?
You tell me.
Who sanctions the NBA?
You tell me.
Who sanctions the PGA Tour?
You tell me.
All of those organizations.
Okay.
They do it themselves. It's all done in-house, just like the UFC. In boxing, when we say sanctioning body, we're not talking about athletic commissions. We're talking
Promoters
about the people that give out belts.
Promoters don't sanction fights.
Agreed. The sanctioning bodies do. The WBC, the WBA, the IBO, the WBO. They
Also
sanction the
commissions.
fight.
You have to be sanctioned by the athletic commission has to sanction it as an official bout. They say it during the announcement of before fight.
This fight is sanctioned by the WBC supervisor, Mauricio Suleiman. We hear it all the time.
It's also sanctioned by the athletic commission.
When you say sanctioning body
Mm-hmm.
and you're talking about boxing, what are you talking about? Are you talking about an athletic commission? Or are you talking about the organization that gives out the belts?
It literally says that the commission sanctions the bout, Maestro. Where you're arguing about objective fact.
The commission sanctions the belt.
Bouts, yes.
The bouts.
Yeah.
Right. So, but again, commission. I said sanctioning body. Who's the sanctioning body?
They don't,
at a
they don't have
championship
one.
at
They
a
don't-
championship fight, who's the sanctioning body?
Well, I'm going to use your logic against you. They're not listed on. They're listed as an actual promotional company. They're not listed as a sanctioning body. So when they file their taxes at the end of the year, they're not. They don't put sanctioning body like the WBC does. They put promotional company.
Right.
So I'm going to use your logic, that your Al Heyman logic. Technically,
No, it's not. It's not Al Heyman logic. Again, I'm not backing Al Heyman.
What they do is they have a loophole too, right?
Yeah.
You could say they act as a sanctioning body, but
They do
technically
act as a sanctioning
But they're
body.
not one though. You have to admit they are not an official sanctioning body. Yes or no?
They're not an official sanctioning
Thank
body, but they're a promoter that gives out their own belt.
Okay, and Al Heyman.
But when people
Al
in
Heyman owns a boxing company, and he acts as a promoter and a manager at the same time. But technically, he's not licensed to do so. He gets away with it. So the UFC has it. So if Al Heyman can use a loophole, so can the UFC. Correct? Are they doing anything wrong? Are they doing anything illegal?
Are they doing anything illegal? Yeah. No, because the Muhammad Ali Act, as we talked about this morning, does not cover the sport of MMA. But if it did cover the sport of MMA,
they're not doing anything wrong.
Look, doing something wrong and doing something illegal are two different things.
They would still meet the criteria of the Muhammad Ali Act as is right now.
They would be breaking it because they're giving out their own title belts. They're not allowed to do that.
Where does it say in the Muhammad Ali Act a promotional company can't give out their own title belt?
They're not allowed to act as a sanctioning body.
They're not a sanctioning body.
No, but they're acting like one. They're acting like the
Doesn't
WBC,
the
IBF, the WBO.
Al Heyman's acting like a promoter, but he's technically not because he doesn't have a license. They are not listed on their business when they file taxes as a sanctioning body.
You're absolutely correct. You're absolutely correct about that.
They would win in court if they were sued under the auspices of the Muhammad Ali Act.
I don't think they could be sued under the auspices of the Muhammad Ali Act because they're not in the sport of boxing.
But again, they are not listed as a sanctioning body. There's nothing that says you cannot have a title belt.
They're not listed as a sanctioning body because they're not a boxing promoter. They're not a boxing sanctioning body. That's why I asked you who sanctions the NFL? Who sanctions the NBA?
So again,
it's a different sport than boxing.
No, you're contradicting yourself.
No, I'm not.
You're contradicting yourself.
All right, point out my contradiction and then let me respond.
Because if Al Heyman is acting as a promoter, which you agreed he was, and he's acting as a manager, which you agreed he was, but he's not listed as one and he's not licensed as one, right? Then again, he's not a promoter or a manager. The UFC, when they file their taxes at the end of the year, they are listed as a promotional company, not a sanctioning company.
Okay.
So
tell me when I can respond.
That's how they get around it.
All right, so the problem here is that you're applying there is a problem. The problem here is that you're applying boxing terms and boxing law to another sport. Like I said, I asked you for time to respond. Now you're gonna have to wait for time to respond.
Really bad. You're gonna get destroyed again.
No. You can wait a few seconds and then you can destroy me. Number one, these terms that we're talking about are boxing terms. When you talk about a sanctioning body, we're talking about the WBC, the WBA, the WBO, the IBO, etc. Now, from the state's perspective, in the United States, I know it's different in other countries, athletic contests in the sport of boxing have to be overseen and sanctioned by a state athletic commission. But when we're talking about a sanctioning body in the sport of boxing, people typically, and you could say it's a colloquial way of talking, whatever, people are typically talking about the entity that gives out the belts. Now, if we want to take these terms and apply them to a totally different sport, the sport of MMA, then I can do the same thing with other sports. And again, that's why I said, who sanctions the NBA? Who's responsible for giving out the NBA title? Who sanctions the NFL? Who's responsible for giving out the NFL title? Who sanctions the PGA Tour? Who's responsible for giving out those awards?
They don't have one.
Exactly. Just like in MMA, the same organization that hands out the belts is the same organization that promotes the event. I'm telling you that I don't. What I'm telling you is
irrelevant.
It is relevant because what I'm
zero.
No, it does mean, and I'll get. Let me just finish, and then you can destroy me, like you said. Let me finish, then you can destroy me. What we're talking about now is taking that system, right? That system of organization running its own belts, handing out titles, right, and acting as promoter, and shifting it over to the sport of boxing for it to run as a league. Go for it.
What does that say right there?
I see directly.
Promoters pay sanctioning fees to athletic commissions to hold sanctioned boxing matches, right?
Yeah.
Same as Dana White has to pay a sanctioning fee to a commission, right? So again, Dana White is a promotional company. He's not a sanctioning body. So
he gives out his own belts.
Doesn't matter.
Just like the NBA, just like the NFL. It's a league.
It's irrelevant. It's a league.
You're taking boxing words and applying them to the sport of MMA. Again, I could do the same thing with soccer, with tennis.
Do boxing and MMA use the same athletic commissions? Yes or no?
They use the same athletic commission.
Right.
Do they share the same championships?
No.
Who gives out the championships in boxing?
Sanctioning bodies.
Thank you, the sanctioning bodies. Who gives out the titles, the championships in MMA?
The promotional company.
Thank you. That's all I've been saying. And all I'm saying is that taking that model and applying it to boxing will not work. And I don't think it's going to be good for the fighters. The reason is because once you have a top-ranked title and a Dana White promotion title and a Matchroom title and a Queensberry title, now all of a sudden you have what happens in MMA where one FC guys and PFL guys don't fight UFC guys because everybody's existing in their different ecosystem.
But it's still...
It's not going to work in boxing.
That's not the argument, though. You're saying that the UFC is in violation of the Muhammad Ali Act if hypothetically it was applied to their organization, and they're not. They're not in violation of it. Were they in violation of it when according to Kung Lee and the 1,200 fighters? Yeah, but again, you don't think that.
I was just about to make that point. They were in violation of it.
So again, you have to concede the point that. As it stands right now, they have no pending lawsuits against them for non-disclosure. So apparently, do you think after paying that large sum of money, right? And now that they've been absorbed by TKO, and now that they're in a merger with WWE and they're publicly traded, do you think they can operate that same way they did when all those things weren't in place? So my whole thing is, I'm not worried about Dana White robbing fighters now because again, he can't do it anymore, right?
Well, if he can't do it, I mean, again, if the model is nothing to worry about, here we go. MMAfighting.com. This is from February 7th, 2025. Ari Emanuel confirms TKO targeting entry into boxing. So this dropped before the news would announce. Who knows what's going to happen with the Ali Act? And it goes in to just talk about all of the issues
of the past.
The Ali Act presents for this type of promotion.
Which was the same thing that was done to Al Heyman, and he won on a technicality, right?
I'm not quite sure what happened with Al Heyman, to be
I know I read the lawsuit because you were 100% correct, and I made this argument years ago. Right, so as I said, fundamentally, right, and in principle, he is violating the Ali Act, but legally he's not. So basically, again, there's so many workarounds around the Ali Act that it's almost essentially non-enforceable.
The Ali Act is a piece of legislation that ensures a number of protections to boxers, namely that promoters must divulge revenue to fighters, limit the amount of time promoters can hold fighters under contract, and separates title belts from rankings and rankings from promoters. That's what I started off by saying. It separates it. Those are the two key factors in terms of why the UFC, well, the financial one, of course, as well, but you're not allowed, promoters are not allowed to give out title belts under the Ali Act. That's what I was saying earlier. They're not allowed to do it. The UFC gives out its title belts. Case closed.
He said that. Give me the actual legislation where it says that. I haven't said that. I haven't saw that.
All right, I
the
mean,
actual. Let's look at the. That's his. Because we hear so many different things of how this Ali Act is interpreted, right? So give me the actual legislation.
you mean you're not taking the word of the guy that runs the UFC, Ari Emanuel? I don't understand. He's the one who's being cited as having an issue with the way the Ali Act is.
I'm going to pull up the Ali Act and I'm going to read it verbatim.
Okay. While you do that, I'm going to go and look at some of these comments going backwards. Wasn't Al Heyman sued for allegedly violating antitrust laws?
Yeah.
Yeah, he was. And again, I'm not out here saying that Al Heyman. No, I'm not defending Al Heyman. I'm not defending Al Heyman.
He's going to attack.
Anyone who knows my channel knows that I don't defend the PBC unless they're doing something good. But most of the time, I don't like what they're doing. Whether it's the fact that all of their major fights are on pay-per-view, whether it's the fact that their guys are inactive, whether it's the fact that up until very recently they weren't really willing to step outside of their ecosystem to do cross-promotional fights on a consistent basis. So Skinny Sweaty Man says, I think GSP was retired by then. I'm not sure. There's debate over there about what's going on. So what have you heard about the Ali Act, or should I pull it up?
I'm reading it right here. And I'm not seeing anything about what you just referenced here.
About the
protect
belts?
the rights and welfare of boxers, aid state boxing commissions with the oversight of boxing, increase sportsmanship and integrity within the boxing industry. The act amends the 1996 Professional Boxing Safety Act by expanding legislation against exploitation, conflict of interest, enforcement, as well as amendments. The act was enacted in response to widespread abuse of boxers by means of exploitation, rigged rankings, and rigged matches. The United States Congress noted through research there are a number of problems with the sport of boxing which need to be changed to ensure the protection of professional boxers. Listed are the number of discoveries made by Congress. Okay, it says all this, that, and that. The act received several criticisms. Okay, external links. Text of the act. I'm going to read the act. All right, here's the act. I'm going to download the PDF and I'm going to read it. And if I'm incorrect here, you will get an apology and a retraction, because from the research that I've known about this, it does not say that they can't have their own belt. I'm going to pull up the PDF right now, because no one's actually read this act.
So it says a bout must be sanctioned by one of the sanctioning organizations before it can be considered a championship match or an official title eliminator match.
And if this were to be applied to MMA, I'm sure it would have to be amended, because it was specifically designed for boxing.
Yeah, because in MMA, the promotions hand out their own titles, just like the NFL, Major League Baseball, and MLS, and all.
I don't see why that's a problem if they're not doing their own rankings.
So,
Okay.
I mean, that would be a huge problem in boxing.
Why wouldn't
if you had
it?
a matchroom championship,
Why?
a top rank championship,
Why?
a Queensbury
Why would that be,
championship?
why would that be any different than a sanctioning body's belt?
Because we get to actually see not as often as we'd oftentimes like, but we get to see fighters fighting each other for in unification fights, when one guy's with one promoter and another guy's with another promoter. When's the last time you've seen a UFC fighter unify his belts with a guy from another promotion? You don't see it.
Yeah, but that has nothing to do with corruption, though. I don't understand how that's a conflict of interest or corruption.
I'm not saying it has anything to do with corruption.
Right,
I'm
so
saying
here
if you include the fighter pay aspect,
the
nature of the contract aspect in MMA, and the fact that there aren't cross-promotional fights in MMA, I don't see why you'd want that model applied to boxing.
There's nothing here that says that. Okay, here's a sanctioning organization. Okay.
I'm gonna try to find
Yeah, I'm reading it. I'm reading the PDF right here. There's nothing that says sanctioning organizations. So again, they're not a sanctioning organization, so this would not apply to them.
What does it say? Read it.
Within 2 years of the date of the enactment, the Miserably Boxing Reform Act, no less than a majority number of state boxers commission as guidelines. Okay, appeals process. Provide the boxer with a written explanation of the organization's criteria and its ranking of a boxer and the rationale of the basis for its rating. Submit a copy, notification of change, post a copy, federal. Again, there's nothing here that says that. There's nothing here that says that. Sanctioning body shall here's a disclosure part of it. Shall not be entitled to receive any compensation directly or indirectly connected with a boxing event. Yeah, I'm not seeing that. I'm not seeing that at all. Where it says that this has a section for sanctioning bodies. It doesn't say anything about any of that stuff that you were talking about. Protection from here is protection from coercive contracts, contract requirements, exploitation, sanctioning organizations.
See, and when it says sanctioning organization, it's specifically talking about the organizations. If you read the act, and I'm looking at paragraph 4 here, in section 321, sanctioning bodies under the Ali Act are the organizations that rank fighters.
Okay.
So again, the New York State Athletic Commission doesn't rank
And
fighters.
the UFC doesn't rank fighters either.
Yeah, but they give out belts. They give out championships.
Doesn't matter. It's not in the act. You have to concede it's not in the act.
Look, what I'm
It's
trying
here.
to tell you,
Just concede it's not-
Joe.
Just make the
The
concession.
law
it's not
doesn't
in the
apply.
act.
The law doesn't
Just
apply to
make
the
the
sport of
concession.
MMA.
But again, just make the concession that it has nothing, says nothing that a promotional company can't give out a belt. You're wrong.
I don't know. I've read
I
it.
know. I'm just read it. I'm reading it.
You read the whole act
I'm
in
reading-
2 minutes.
No, because
It's a multiple-page document. There's no way you read it so fast.
It says sanctioning organization. I'm glad this is on video because again, you have to concede points when you're wrong.
I'm not gonna say
You
that
have
I'm
to
reading a whole act in 5 minutes while I'm talking to you on YouTube.
There's nothing in here that says a promotional company cannot give out a belt.
Okay. I haven't read it to confirm that.
And you also said that you made a statement that the UFC ranks its own fighters, and you were wrong there because they don't.
Well, Dana's the one who's out there in interviews saying that he makes fights happen. So is it him
Eddie
that
Hearn
makes it?
says he make. Oh my God! Promoters make fights happen.
No, but he's saying it because he says that it doesn't happen in boxing.
Oh my God! Promoters. You hear what this guy just said?
Yeah, I said what I said.
Promoters don't make fights happen.
No, they do make fights.
So then why don't the fighters, right, just go like this? Hey, I'm going to meet you at this arena tomorrow. And we'll sign a contract together, and we don't need a promoter. Oh, my God, this argument is ridiculous. People have to concede when they're proven wrong. He's been proven wrong, and he's not conceding. Wow.
I'm not going to concede that the
You
UFC
have to
doesn't.
concede. You have to.
You want me to concede?
You have to concede.
You
You're
provided.
wrong.
No,
You're
I haven't.
wrong.
I have not seen proof that the UFC doesn't rank its fighters.
They don't.
That could be true. I haven't seen it.
I haven't seen proof of violations of the Muhammad Ali Act either.
I mean, you're going to the extent of reading through an entire act in 1 minute on your phone to prove a point, but I'm asking you for evidence that shows that the UFC doesn't rank fighters, and now I'm just supposed to take your word for it.
Now that you've been proven wrong about how a promoter can't hand out a belt, now you want to backtrack to the rankings.
I literally read an article that said promoters can't hang out. I read it on camera.
I don't care what you read. I'm reading the actual
Right,
act.
and again, I haven't had time to read through an entire act.
doesn't
I'll go
say
do
a
it. I'll go do it after we leave, and I'll come back if I'm wrong. But I don't have. We're on camera right now doing the show. I can't go and read an entire law, an act with multiple sections and paragraphs. I can't do it.
The Muhammad Ali Act if a promoter gives out a title belt to a fighter.
And specifically here, they have a section 6307D, required disclosures to state boxing commissions by sanctioning organizations. Again, Under the Muhammad Ali Act, a state athletic commission isn't considered a sanctioning body, which is what I said before, which is what you still haven't conceded yet.
What's that?
That according to the act, the sanctioning bodies are the organizations that give out belts, not the state commissions, which you were saying were sanctioning bodies.
I never said they were.
So we both have a lot of reading to do about this.
Retract that last statement that I said a commission was a sanctioning body, please.
You literally were saying that earlier. You said they're a sanctioning body because they sanction fights.
No, I didn't. I said
everybody here
No. You have to retract that.
Everybody here
No. Stop.
Everybody here saw it.
Stop.
Everybody who's been here for the whole time. You all saw it. You all heard him say that.
Oh, you're gonna lie on camera?
No, I'm not lying. You said it.
Oh, you're killing yourself.
We just had a debate about it. You were saying that they're sanctioning bodies.
That's not what I said. That's not what I said.
What did you say?
That's not what I said.
What did you say?
Please retract that.
You tell me what you said. Tell me what you said, and then I'll retract it.
I said the promoter pays a sanctioning fee to the commission. That's what I said.
Okay, now, so just to be clear.
Can you retract your statement, please?
I will, just to be clear. I will as soon as you say this. Just to be clear. State athletic commissions are not sanctioning bodies.
I never said they were.
Okay, good. You never said they were. We got it.
Are you saying I said that?
I thought you said that. Clearly, I was wrong.
Wow, this is bad.
I thought you said that.
This is bad faith, Maestro.
No, it's not. I thought you said that. I thought you said that.
Maestro, please, Maestro.
I thought you said that.
Maestro, ask the people in the chat if I said, Maestro, come on. Maestro, this is really bad for you, Maestro.
I'm not. Look, I'm not trolling. I'm not acting.
Maestro,
I could have sworn you said that.
Maestro,
I could have sworn you said that.
Maestro, you know I didn't say that, Maestro. That's really bad. You're acting like David Pacman right now. This is bad.
No.
I never said that, Maestro.
Okay, I'm glad you never said that.
No, Maestro, let's be real. You know I didn't say that. No, stop. You know I didn't say that. You know I didn't say that. I
misunderstood. I misunderstood what you were saying.
That's very bad faith.
No, I misunderstood.
Maestro, that's bad faith.
No, it's not bad faith. If I thought I heard you
look me straight in the eye.
Yeah.
And tell me to my fucking face right now, honestly, that I said an athletic commission is a sanctioning body.
I thought you said that.
Wow.
Straight in the eye.
I just lost a ton of respect for you.
I thought you said that.
I just lost a ton of respect for you.
I literally thought you said that.
No, you
but
didn't,
you know what we can do?
Maestro, you know I didn't say that, Maestro.
Well, I know now because of how serious you're being.
Maestro,
I know now.
Maestro, you just lied on camera.
No, I didn't lie.
You just lied on camera. That's fine.
Here, you know what we'll do?
You have to live with that.
No. Lying implies that I was. Lying implies that I purposely said something that's not true.
Maestro, you know I didn't say that. You know I didn't say that.
We'll go back. I'm going to bring up the video right now.
You know I didn't say that.
Yeah, okay, that's fine.
I said they pay them sanctioning fees, which you said they do not.
So why would you say that in response to me saying that they're not sanctioning bodies? Because I said that they were not sanctioning bodies, and then we got into a whole debate about it.
No.
That's what I remember happening.
What I said to you is the UFC as the promoter, Maestro. I just pulled that up and I put it on camera for you. When you actually said on camera that promoters don't pay commissions sanctioning fees. You said they just pay them fees. I said no, they're sanctioning fees. You were the one that said they're not sanctioning fees. You just said they were licensing
fees. Sanctioning fees are the fees paid to the sanctioning bodies. No, that's the point I was making.
No, they're paid a sanctioning fee to license the bout.
Okay.
I just put it up on the camera there, Maestro.
Okay. Well, luckily this whole thing is here.
You know I did not say. Beeb said an athletic. No, that's not what I said. Beeb did not say that. Beeb did not. Never said they were a sanctioning body. They sanction bouts.
All right, so here I have the part pulled up here. We're gonna go through the confusion right now since Joe called me a liar.
Fee.
I misunderstood what you were saying.
It was
an honest misunderstanding. We can pull it up and adjust the record right here. We'll pull it up and adjust the record. Here. It's what. Look, I'm not a liar. I thought what I thought. I thought I heard what I heard. The WBC, the WBA, the IBO, the WBO. They sanction the State Athletic Commission. WBC, the IBF. It's here. I say not being true. So
media,
I want. If the UFC is saying, "Oh yeah, we have media members do our."
So you don't believe Kevin Iole either? Kevin Iole's lying.
Kevin Iole.
Yeah.
Kevin Iole. I think this is the first time we've ever done this. Go back into a show and go back to what we said.
He votes on rankings.
Okay, he votes on rankings.
Yeah.
Again, people can vote on all kind of things.
But
here's the question:
you vote on
let me ask you this:
you vote on the Hall of Fame.
I'm answering your question. I'm answering your question. If Kevin Iole votes for something and some other journalist votes for something and it goes into a ballot and we don't know who voted for what, and then the result of that behind the scenes goes to Dana White, who says in all kind of interviews, I have the power to make this fight happen, that fight happen. UFC is great because the best fight the best.
Yeah, like all promoters.
Do you really think that if Kevin Iole wants a fight to happen and Dana White doesn't want a fight to happen?
Further ahead than this. Here we go.
This is the part. I don't see anything to share. There we go.
So you're saying that they're actually gonna put up false statements.
I'm looking for what you're sharing with me. I don't see it anywhere.
Let me see if I can. I have to.
I do have the other thing that we disagreed on. I could pull up this.
Here's the part. You also made another false statement. You said the UFC is a sanctioning body.
This is the one. Okay.
Yeah.
This is the one, right?
They're listed as a promotional company. They're not a sanctioning body.
Yeah, when I say sanctioning body, I'm not talking about an athletic commission, right? So, for instance, who sanctions the NFL?
Not sure. I mean,
who sanctions the NBA?
They're a league.
Yeah, just like the UFC is a league. They
like
essentially, so they have their own belt. They have their own rankings. Okay. This thing here says sanctioning body and then goes on to talk about athletic commissions. Athletic commissions aren't sanctioning bodies. The sanctioning bodies are the WBA, the WBC, the IBF. Correct. But if you notice here, it doesn't say that. It says that the sanctioning bodies are the athletic organizations. They're not. Those are supervising bodies. Those are the ones that supervise the fighters' medicals, supervise the medical staff, the judges, the referees. That's not a sanctioning body. The sanctioning body is the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO. So this is incorrect.
No, it's not. It's not incorrect because you do have to pay a commission, a sanctioning fee.
That's not. So that was my confusion, Joe. It's an honest confusion. It's not a lie. It's not. I'm just saying that's my confusion. It's not a lie. It's not being dishonest.
Play the whole thing when you asked me if.
I am. But I just said everybody could hear it. I said this thing was wrong to list those as sanctioning bodies.
My argument.
Here it doesn't say that. It says that the sanctioning bodies are the athletic organizations. They're not.
Again, that's not my argument.
Those are supervising bodies. Those are the ones that supervise the fighters' medicals, supervise the medical staff, the judges, the referees. That's not a sanctioning body. The sanctioning body is the WBC, the WBA, the IBF, and the WBO. So this is incorrect.
No, it's not. It's not incorrect because you do have to pay.
So it's not incorrect to say that the Nevada State Athletic Commission is a sanctioning body.
Let it play.
That's the confusion.
No.
You said it's not incorrect for those to be called as sanctioning bodies.
Let it fucking play.
That's not a sanctioning fee. That's the commission.
Play.
That's a fee to the commission.
No,
that's not sanctioning fees go to the WBC, the IBF, the IBO, etc.
You have to pay sanctioning fees to commissions too because they sanction the bout.
No, they supervise. They supervise the bout.
No, they sanction it. It's the same thing.
Okay, sanction. So if it's the same thing, why is there a New York State Athletic Commission? The WBC is already sanctioning the event. They're the sanctioning body.
No, it's different.
So there's no need for the New York State Athletic Commission then.
No, there is a need because they sanction the bout.
No, the WBC, WBA, IBF, IBO, they sanction the bout.
That's not true.
The event is supervised by the state authority.
You're wrong. In order for it to be a sanctioned event, The commission has to sanction it.
Yes, but they're not a sanctioning body. When people
No, but
talk about
they sanction events though.
yes, but when I'm talking about the UFC being a sanctioning body, I'm talking about the belt, the ranking, all of the stuff that people
They're not a
mean.
sanctioning body. They're a promotional company.
All right, so who sanctions the NFL? So can we just admit it was a misunderstanding, and I wasn't lying to your face? And can we move on, please?
I'm gonna be honest. I think you're trying to manipulate my words.
No, I wasn't.
Just being honest. And then you said that you were wrong in saying that commissions don't get sanctioning fees when I showed you they do.
My only point is that the commissions, despite the thing from ChatGPT saying that they're sanctioning bodies,
that's not
are not sanctioning bodies. That was my only point.
I never said they were sanctioning
bodies. And I misunderstood when you said, no, that thing is not incorrect. I thought that meant you were saying that they were sanctioning bodies. It was an honest misunderstanding. It wasn't me lying and needing to look at you in the face and all of this other stuff.
The chat GBT did not say that the sanctioning bodies were that the sanctioning bodies and the commissions were the same. All the chat GBT
it literally says right here, sanctioning body, organizations like the Nevada State Athletic Commission. I said that this was wrong, and you said, no, it's not wrong. That was the misunderstanding. Clearly says sanctioning body, or this is what you shared with me, organizations like the Nevada State Athletic Commission or the Association of Boxing Commissions. Those are not sanctioning bodies under the Muhammad Ali Act. And most people that discuss sanctioning bodies in boxing would never say that a state athletic commission is the sanctioning body. That was my only point.
Did I say they were? Did I say they were?
No, you just said that calling them that wasn't incorrect.
No, I didn't. I said you said that you openly said that sanctioning fees are not paid to commissions. You were 1,000% wrong.
Yeah, I was saying sanctioning fees are paid to the WBC, the WBA,
They're also
the IBF.
paid to commissions.
Okay, I didn't. I thought that when they say the sanctioning fee, that they were paying the sanctioning fee to the WBC,
I'll pull it up
the
again.
IBF, the WBO, the WBA.
Again.
I've always understood that the sanctioning fees go to them. If I'm wrong about it, I'm wrong about it.
It's a sanctioning fee to license the bout. So what happens, Maestro, if there's not a title on the line? The fight still has to be sanctioned by a commission for it to be an official fight.
Yes, this is true. But under the Ali Act, the part that I was reading when I was specifically talking about the entity that would be a promoter, they're not allowed to essentially rank fighters or give out their own title belts. That's what I was talking about based on the article that I read. And if that article is wrong, it's wrong. Yes, promoters pay sanctioning fees to commissions for boxing and mixed martial arts events. Yes.
And you said that they didn't.
Okay. If I said that, I was wrong. But I was specifically talking about boxing sanctioning fees that go to the organizations that give out the belts.
Yeah, it's a different type of fee, Maestro.
Okay. So what are those fees called?
Both say that they're sanctioning fees as well.
Okay, sanctioning fees. So that was the misunderstanding. It's nothing disingenuous here or anything.
What is a sanctioning fee? Watch. A sanctioning fee in boxing is a fee that a fighter pays to compete in a sanctioned boxing match. Each sanctioning body has its own fees, okay? Now, a sanctioning fee to a commission is a fee to license the bout. It's called a sanction. They have to sanction the fight.
Mm-hmm.
So that's what it is.
So the sanctioning fees are not paid to the WBC, the WBO, the IBF, the WBA, etc.
Did I say that?
No, I'm just asking.
Did I say that?
No, what is the source that you're reading? I don't even know what you're reading.
Are they paid to commissions as well as sanctioning bodies?
Yes. But not to sanction the title fight sanction, the title being sanctioned is done through to the body. Look,
I'm not arguing against that.
Joe, let's just be clear because we're veering off paths here and it gets into these convoluted discussions. When I'm talking about sanctioning a fight for a belt, I'm talking about the fee that goes to the sanctioning body. I'm not talking about the fees that promoters pay to be able to run an event in New York City to the state commission. Yes, for their sanction of the fight. I'm talking about titles. This whole argument got started because we're talking about who gives out the belts. And the people that give out the belts are not the state commissions. They are the sanctioning bodies.
Now,
so that when I'm talking about sanctioning fees, I'm talking about belts.
But technically, right, is the UFC a sanctioning body?
No.
Okay.
They're not a state athletic commission that sanctions fights, but they are an entity that gives out their own championships.
Now, if you want to tell me
that they are.
Now, if you want to, now again, not trying to be a dickhead here, but you're just going to use your own logic against you.
Mm-hmm.
You want to tell me that just because they are listed as a promotional company that they don't act as a sanctioning body because they give out their own belt. I'll concede that. So if you want to say, this is what I would have done if I was you, with all due respect.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, technically they're a promotional company, but they act as a sanctioning body because they give out their own belt.
Yes, they do. But what I was also saying was that they wouldn't be allowed to do that in boxing under the Ali Act. So if they are going to do that, they're going to have to do it in Saudi Arabia, maybe in England, but they're not going to be able to do it in the United States. Can we agree on that?
Let's look it up. Now,
mm-hmm.
I read the Ali Act.
Yeah.
And I don't see the verbiage here, so I'm just going to look. And if it says it in here, then because here it is, United States. Here's the actual act. Let me pull it up here.
Yeah.
See where it says 100 United States. Here's the actual. Here it is, right? So I'm going to see if I could actually find the act itself, because this seems like it's the act, like it's the act here, because this is the thing.
Yeah, I have something up here as well, although it doesn't have the fancy script lettering at the top like yours does. Yeah, this is a good point, Virtuoso. And that's when the New York State Athletic Commission acted as what a sanctioning body is referred to under the Ali Act. But New York State Athletic Commission no longer does that. I think it got morphed into what became the WBA, and then now there are multiple sanctioning bodies.
Okay. Prohibits an officer or employee of a sanctioning organization from receiving compensation. Okay, so I have it right here in front of me now. This is HR 1832, 106 Congress, 1999-2000. This is when it actually went into place. 47. This passed on April 7th, 2000. Okay?
Yep.
Prohibits a sanctioning organization. Now, I've heard people say the same exact thing that you've said, Maestro, so I'm not saying that it hasn't been said. Okay, here it is. Now, if I'm wrong here, I'll apologize to you, because here it is. Amends the act to prohibit a promoter from having a direct, indirect financial interest in the management of a boxer. That's number one. Number two, a manager from having direct or indirect financial interest in the promotion of a boxer, or from being emphasized by receiving compensation or other benefits from a promoter, except from the amounts received as consideration under the manager's contract with the boxer. Specifies this provision. Specifies it does not prohibit the boxer from acting. Specifies the provision does not prohibit a boxer from acting as his own promoter or manager, as that only applies to the boxer participating in a boxing match. Okay. Define the promoter to anti-exploitation. I'm looking real hard for that, because I've heard people say that.
No, I mean we just saw it in that article. I was citing an article,
No,
and you're right.
and
I didn't go to the primary source. I was using a secondary source.
I apologize because you looked at a source and you reported what you read. So you're not you acted in good faith there. You acted in good faith the whole time. I'm just busting your balls a little bit. I fucking would take a bullet for you right now if I had to.
It's funny because we made YouTube history by going back and checking receipts on the same live show.
This is the best video I've ever done in my life. This was a great debate, by the way. And I never. This is always
in an industry where a single championship bout between prominent boxers can achieve revenues. I think the way to do it is just to do a word search for the word belt, right, or championship.
Yeah, so I'm reading this act, and it's not telling me that's in there. I'm reading the whole thing.
Use promoters to gain undue. The practice also enabled. Well, guys, we're going to have to go back on this. If anybody else out there can do the research in the meantime, the question is, does the Ali Act, as has been reported, prohibit promoters in boxing from acting as sanctioning bodies and not as state athletic commissions, but as the organizations that give out the title belts? That's what's been reported. So we're trying to
you know what else?
To look at this and see if we can find the answer to this question.
You know what else? It doesn't state in here that with the whole situation with Al Heyman, like we're like, okay, it's a promote. Okay, so it does state that. Okay, so prohibits any person from arranging, promoting, organizing, producing a fighting match unless all referees and judges have been certified. Amends the act. Prohibits an officer or employee of the sanctioning organization from receiving. Amends the act. Violation, exploitation. Amends the act. Define promoter to exclude a hotel, casino establishment hosting sponsorships. This is where they thought that Al Heyman broke this. Define the promoter to exclude a hotel, casino, resort, or commercial establishment hosting a sponsorship or professional boxing match unless the establishment. Okay. Boxing. Yeah, I'm reading the whole fucking thing here, man. I'm not seeing that.
It says here, under the federal law, promoters can't bind fighters with contract provisions that last more than a year. No manager of fighters can act as a promoter. Rankings and championship belts are regulated by third-party sanctioning bodies, and promoters must divulge full revenues to fighters.
Where is that listed under?
It's this article I'm reading from MMAfighting.com.
Yeah, I'm going to send you. I'm going to pull this.
And apparently there's Congressman Mark Wayne Mullen of Oklahoma, a former MMA fighter, believes the balance of power in the sport lends much more towards promoters than fighters, and his desire to even the playing field. So he wants to extend the Ali Act to MMA. That's what his fight is about.
I just sent you the bill, the actual bill to your Telegram. It has a link to it. If you want to pull that up and show everybody that, if you can, on Telegram, because if you open that link up in your Telegram, you should be able to pull that up and you could look at it.
Well, I have the bill straight off the Congress website right here that I can pull up.
Yeah, I just pulled go to your Telegram and open up that one.
The problem, though, Joe, is that this is quite an extensive document, and
it's really not that big, though. Open it up. It's not.
It's
that
open.
Big.
It's right here. Look.
Yeah, I'll pull it. I'll scroll up and down it and see if you can see anything.
That's the act, right?
Yeah, yeah.
This is the act.
And here it has all the.
But I mean, it's quite a lot of reading to do on a live show.
Go to your Telegram. Did you open up the link that I sent you in your Telegram?
I can't share my screen on Telegram, unfortunately, from when I'm on a computer.
Am I able to share screen? Let me see if I can pull it up. Hold on. I'm gonna open it up.
I don't know. You guys in the that's the one, Star Fox. That's the one right there. That's the one I'm reading right here.
Now I'm going to share this.
So I think the way to do it is to do a word search of.
No, here's the actual bill. I have the actual bill right from the Congress's website.
Well, this is what I'm on right now. I'm on the bill.
Look, watch. Can I add this one to you?
Yeah, you add it and you control it. Here, you control it because once you share, I can't share. Go.
Yeah. So this is the actual bill right from the website. Can you see that?
Yeah, I can see it.
Okay. And here it is. Shown here passes by the thing. Okay. I'm trying to look at everything here. Prohibits a sanctioning organization from receiving compensation directly, which people have already accused them of doing. Okay, I'm looking at everything here. I'm going to see if I can find that. Amends the act. Define promoter to exclude a hotel, casino, resort, or any commercial establishment hosting, sponsoring a professional boxing match unless the establishment is primarily responsible for organizing, promoting. Okay. Requires each boxing commission to establish procedures to ensure no boxing is permitted to box. Okay. Changes the renewal that provides a stay. Yeah, I'm reading the whole fucking bill and I'm not seeing that in here. I'm just not. This is the whole bill.
Well, like I said, I'm gonna have to look into this and read it thoroughly when we're not pressed for time on a live stream.
And I've seen it. I've seen what you. I'm not saying that you're.
But I just
wrong.
want you to know what I was saying was not disingenuous. I was quoting. I was quoting articles.
No, it was 100%.
That were literally saying that.
Yeah, but it's not listed here in the bill. Unless I'm not, I'm looking. I'm going to read the whole thing from top to bottom. But
please don't.
Not now. I'm going to read the whole thing from top to bottom on my own free time is what I'm trying to tell you. Not now. And it's just nothing in here. Yeah, there's nothing in here that says that. And I've only heard that being said. You know why I'm skeptical of that too, Maestro? When this first came up, the two things that
I think it might be this section here.
Where is it?
No matter which boxer wins a title bout, the promoter remains in control over who may compete for that title, since he has both contestants under exclusive contract. If a boxer who seeks to challenge a champion or a more established boxer refuses to provide long-term contractual rights to the promoter, the boxer will be denied the right to compete in the bout. This practice frustrates the years of determined training and arduous competition that boxers endure, for they will be denied the opportunities that their successors in the ring have earned. No boxer will ever be able to compete for the title in that division unless they sign away future promotional rights to that promoter. So I think that's what it's talking about when it bans that practice. The promoter thus has gained total control over an entire segment of a professional sports industry. This contracting practice allows a promoter to achieve a monopoly on a substantial portion of championship-level competition in that particular weight division. This practice of coercing options from boxers is also utilized by promoters and sanctioning organizations against mandatory challengers. So eventually what it's doing is it's outlawing, from my reading of that, it's outlawing the practice of needing to sign on with a promoter to earn a title shot or to fight for a title. So I think that's where it gets muddy for the UFC, reading what I just read. The promoter can't make you sign a contract to fight for a title fight. The only people that are allowed to fight for title fights in the UFC are people with UFC contracts. That would be illegal under the Ali Act, according to what I just read.
So you're saying that
it outlaws the practice of needing to sign with a promoter to fight for a title. That's what it refers to. So that's what I just read. So I think they just reworded it, the people who are writing these articles. But essentially, if you're saying You cannot make a fighter sign a contract with a promoter to fight for a title. That essentially would make illegal what UFC does. You can only fight for a UFC title if you're under contract to the UFC. That's why Francis Ngannou can't fight John Jones. So that's where that comes from. If you can't fight for a title unless you're a member of that organization, you're essentially saying in another way that an organization cannot control a title bout.
So what you're saying is the UFC should allow their fighters to fight for PFL titles and fight for one championship title.
No, I think the reverse. What I'm saying is that the UFC would have to allow people signed to one to fight for their title belt if it was a legit world title, but it's not, because it's a title controlled by the promoter, and the only way you can fight for that title is if you're under contract to that promoter. So that's what the act says.
Yeah, it's again, it would have to be litigated, and the interpretation it would determine how it's determined. So, for instance, you're not being forced to sign a UFC contract. You're doing it through your own volition. And it's up to you to decide whether you want to fight for their title or not. So you could be signed to the UFC and just not be, you're not being forced to fight for the title. That's something that you choose to do.
But let me put it this way. You're signed to the UFC, right?
Correct.
And your contract has come to the end.
Mm-hmm.
And they'll only allow you to fight for the title if you re-up your contract.
Mm-hmm.
That would not be allowed in boxing. It's allowed in the UFC because the UFC controls the belt.
I think it's fair to say the UFC controls the belt because it's their title.
Yeah.
Correct.
And
but
what the Ali Act is saying is you can't require somebody to be under contract to fight for a title. That's what the Ali Act is saying. Therefore, if it was applied to the UFC, which this lawmaker, former MMA fighter wants to do, it would ruin the UFC's business. Because at that point, the UFC title would have to be opened up to people that aren't signed with the UFC.
Understood. I could see how that would be interpreted that way.
Yeah.
That's a fair assessment.
So,
but it's technically the thing is it's technically not worded that way. Like I guess you're just I guess it's just nitpicking at this case because the concern. See, Paulie Malignaggi is going in the wrong direction, attacking the TKO boxing league.
Yeah,
he should be doing what you're doing. Your concern is basically that
exploitative contracts and not disclosing finances. That's my primary concern.
Yeah, I'm not worried about that. I think a better argument would be that what you just said here. So basically, you're locking these guys into a promotional contract, and you're only allowing them to fight for that one title.
Yeah, so Star Fox said it here well. He says, promoters could have their own belts, but other boxers from other promoters would be allowed to fight for them. Promoters don't want that smoke, so no promoter titles exist.
So technically, the only way you could enforce that is if, say, someone from the UFC, say someone from another organization wanted to fight for that belt. So the way UFC could work around that, and they haven't done this.
No, but again, the Ali Act doesn't apply to the UFC. Remember that.
No, but
that's why they're able to get away with this.
This is all hypothetical. But say, for instance, if the Ali Act was applied to the UFC, and someone from another organization wanted to fight for that title, and the UFC said the only way you could fight for this title is if you leave your organization, which they did do to Fedor. They would not let Fedor fight. So Randy Couture wanted to fight Fedor.
He did.
And they were told that he was told that you would have to sign with the UFC.
You know what Fedor's problem was? Fedor's problem was, Joe?
He wanted to do the other
he wanted to do Sambo wrestling every year and compete in the World Samba Championships, and the UFC wouldn't allow him.
Yeah.
So that's why he continued to fight with pride, because he was proud of being the Sambo world champion in addition to a professional MMA world champion. And every year he'd go and he'd compete in the Sambo World Championships. UFC wouldn't allow it. UFC wanted an exclusive deal with him and would only let them fight their champion to the point if he signed an exclusive contract with the UFC.
So I'm not gonna nitpick and stuff because my statement was, it doesn't say that you can't. But if you interpret how that statement is worded, it essentially does say that you have.
Yeah.
So I'll concede that.
Big up Virtuoso on the super chat. Thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. It's very generous of you. Terrence Crawford going on IG Live to reveal the compensatory impropriety by Al Heyman. 0 purse guaranteed, only short end percentage on an unquantifiable revenue figure to fight Errol Spence was an underrated Ali Act moment. Yeah, look, we said it earlier on when we were talking. Al Heyman's totally circumvented the act. Circumvented it 100%. And thanks again, Virtuoso, for the super chat. Go for it, Joe.
So I'm going to have to concede that point then. I think you're actually 100% correct there, even though it's not worded exactly like that. The
meaning is there.
The actual interpretation of how that was laid out basically essentially says that.
Yeah.
So it's not written exactly how it's like in other words, the way it's being interpreted is that they're saying, well, if that a promoter can't give out a title belt. That's not what that says. It says a promoter cannot mandate someone sign a contract with them in order to fight for their title belt.
I'll give you an example, right?
But
let's say right now, if it was open under the Ali Act, MMA was
they'd be in
controlled,
violation.
right? I'll give you an example.
They'd be in violation of it.
Francis Ngannou's PFL champion, right?
Yeah.
He goes, he fights John Jones, he beats John Jones. He's not under contract with John Jones. And then he goes back to PFL as the UFC champion.
Yeah.
That would obviously destroy the UFC as a business if their fighters lost all of their belts and then went or the belt left and went to other promotions.
So
it's essentially saying you can't control a belt as a promoter.
So let's just unpack it, because the way it's worded is a promoter cannot offer a title belt to a fighter. That isn't correct. If a promoter does offer a title belt to a fighter, he can do so even if that fighter is not under the contract with that promotion company. So if the UFC decided this is our belt, but we're going to let all the other the other organizations fight for that title, then that could be doable.
That would be allowed.
And I'm going to apologize to you. What bothered, what I couldn't like, I think what the confusion lies is they could have their own belt, right? But they would need to allow other organizations to fight for it without signing an official. So if they said, and this is what the PFL wanted to do, they said, why can't we just do unifications? Why can't our champions fight their champions? So PFL can have their belt, UFC can have their belt. So that statement is wrong when they say, a promoter cannot have its own belt. They can have their own belt. That promotional company can have their own belt, but they cannot force a fighter to sign a contract with them in order to fight for it. So
and they would have to allow their title belt to leave the promotion, right? Which I don't think any promotion would want to do. Real quick, Joe, let me go to this super chat because I do have to apologize to Chico because I missed it earlier. Chico, thank you so much. Chico says, Ari Emanuel, the big boss, who was former agent of Trump, spoke on dealing with Ali Act last month. It will all come together. TKO, baby. So he's essentially going through the article or referring to what I said earlier, which is that they're trying to change the Ali Act, get it out of the way.
So I think the reason they're concerned with the Ali Act is they do want you to sign a promotional contract in order to fight for their title.
Yes, which is illegal.
I'll concede that point, and that would be in a violation of the Ali Act. Now, technically, I just didn't like the wording of, a promotional company can't have their own title belt. That's kind of what set me off.
Yeah,
they could have their own belt, Maestro.
Yeah.
But in order to do so, it is very coercive.
Yes.
Right? To make you sign up with them in order to fight for their title.
100%. And again, for you and for the audience, when I said it that way and I worded it that way,
you probably meant it the way it's written.
No. I was just reading off of a secondary source.
Correct.
What we did was we went to the primary source and we found that the wording was actually different, but the outcome is essentially the same.
Yeah, because here's the thing, Maestro. I'm not going to go, technically this they're never going to let other people from other organizations fight for their title unless they're under contract. We already know that. So essentially, even though it's worded improperly, the intent is the same.
So let's envision this, right? Dana comes together with Turkey and they create this league, right? And Daniel Dubois fights for the heavyweight title in that league, right?
Mm-hmm.
Then leaves with the belt and doesn't want to return to that league. Is that going to be a possibility? I don't know. Let
me wrap this up in a nutshell.
Yeah.
Because this is my opinion, and again I stress my opinion.
Yep.
I'm not worried about non-disclosure because Turki Alalshikh is not going to allow Dana White to fuck over fighters.
Yeah.
I don't think he will. That's number one. I'm not worried about the pay. Here's where, if you had a problem, right? This is where the problem would lie. And this is what I think they're concerned with, and I think you know where I'm going to go with this. The reason why they're concerned with the Muhammad Ali Act is they want you to be part of their league in order to fight for their title. They don't want to open it up to everybody. So they want a concentrated league where they can control everything, and they don't want the WBA, the WBC, the WBO, and the IBF to have any dominion over what they do.
I agree. Or what if you're one of these Uzbeks or Kazakhs or Cuban guys or Russian guys fighting or Ghanaian guys fighting in these IBA boxing events in Moscow? Are they going to let one of those guys fight in the league on a one-off, challenge for a title, walk back to Moscow with their belt and return to the IBA? I don't know.
Just like when Ric Flair took the WCW title over to the WWE, that was considered one of the worst sins in wrestling history, right?
Yeah.
And then what did Vince say to Bret Hart when Bret Hart was going to go to the WCW? I can't allow you to win and take this belt over to WCW. He had to go out on a loss.
Yeah.
So this is where I disagree with Paulie Malignaggi, this whole non-disclosure thing. I don't think that's an issue. I think they want their own title belt and they want to operate, in a autonomous way where it's just us and we don't have to deal with the other sanctioning bodies, and we'll deal with the commissions directly. That's what I think they want to do. I think they do want to replicate the UFC model and something similar to what the PFL is doing. And again, if you want to fight in this league, you have to sign a contract with us exclusively. And once you're fighting in this league, you can't fight for WBC.
I gotta go to my man Star Fox's comment, because he's hitting the nail right on the head with the most simple question. How is this situation any better for boxing? I don't think it is. I don't see how this could work.
I'll tell you my argument.
But before you do that, I want to play this because this is what Joe was referring to. Let's have a look. Let's have a listen. Let's go.
What I'm holding here is the belt that belongs to the real world champion. Oh, no, not Hulk Hogan. Presently, the man that owns this belt is under contract to another organization. But in the near future, he may be arriving in the World Wrestling Federation. If so, it would be my honor and privilege to be the advisor of this man. Now, you want to compare this belt to Hulk Hogan's? That would be like comparing ice cream to horse manure. You want to compare the man that wears this belt to Hulk Hogan? That would be like comparing ice cream to horse manure. You see, Hulk Hogan is the World Wrestling Federation champion. The man that owns this belt is the real champion, Ric Flair.
And there you go. So I don't see boxing promoters allowing that situation to happen, Joe. And I don't really see this. Again, I don't see this league getting off the ground because the minute a Daniel Dubois, Triple D, goes in there and knocks out whatever heavyweight champion they have and walks away with the title belt, it's over. And if they say to him, well, you can't fight for this belt unless you sign up for the league, that's illegal. Unless they do it in Saudi Arabia. Go for it.
Unless they operate this like they did the Contender Series.
The Contender belt.
Yeah. But when was the first Contender Series? Did that start before or after the Muhammad Ali Act?
I'm pretty sure it happened after because I don't think the Contender was around when I was still in school. And
when did the Contender Series in boxing begin?
There you go. I think we got the
March. That debuted on March 7th, 2005.
Yeah, so that was 5 years after the Ali Act.
So what could happen is if they were to do this like they did this like they did the Contender Series.
Yeah.
Right? And they allowed fighters because this went on fighters' original record.
But notice that was the Contender. It wasn't called the Champion.
Yeah, but
right? They weren't fighting for a world title.
But they did give the winner of that tournament the belt at the end.
So it's going to be like the World Boxing Super Series or the Super Six. They get a special trophy or the Muhammad Ali thing, and you need to sign a contract to get into the league, but it's not a real world championship.
We're sitting there arguing, and we don't even know what this thing is. What if this thing is?
Can we at least agree that I wasn't being disingenuous and that I was being honest earlier?
Yeah,
because you did say you lost a lot of respect for me. No, I haven't lost any respect for you, Joe.
Well, I lost a lot of respect for your argument, not for you as the person. I lost a lot of respect for your argument, not you as the person. Okay. I mean.
Okay, fair enough.
I don't even think under the contract that I signed here with Sucker Punch that I'm even allowed to disrespect you.
Okay, so
there's a defamation clause that I have here in this contract with you. I can't technically disrespect you. What I was really saying is I lost a lot of respect for your argument. That's
okay. Fair enough. Chico says, and another super chat. Chico, thank you so much. A league brings uniformity, corporate sponsorship, and legitimacy that a public company, TKO, wants to increase shareholder commitments. So he's arguing that the league is necessary, I guess, to push boxing forward.
What if they
Again, it's like the NFL, NBA, PGA Tour. They're giving out their own titles, right?
So what if they did this? Because just like the Super Series, they had that Muhammad Ali trophy, and I think they had their own belt too. So what if they did this? What if they said, okay, we're gonna have a season?
Yeah.
And they tried to do this too. Didn't they try to do this? They had these teams. What was that thing where the boxing had teams or whatever?
Yeah, Team Combat League where they fight for a round.
Whatever happened to that? Did that ever get off the ground?
Well, again, I mean, it's like Misfits, right? Misfits has a title belt, right? But I don't think anybody's taking it seriously. My whole thing, Joe, until I'm proven otherwise, and look, maybe I will, maybe I won't be. I don't see this working. I just don't see it. Like, I don't see people signing up to be in a league that leads to a world title that is closed off to the rest of the world. Automatically, the fans are going to look at that and say, this isn't really legitimate. Like, my favorite heavyweight just fought the other day, and he's the real world champion. And you're telling me he can't even fight your world champion because he's not in your league.
Here's
not,
the
the boxing league, not leagues of talent. Go for it.
Here's the problem. We're making all these assumptions, and we don't even know what this fucking thing is actually going to be. This is what bothers me. We're thinking the worst without even knowing what this thing is going to be.
Well, we know what it can't be if they want to run it in the United States. We know that, right? Because we know that in order to fight for this title, they can't be under exclusive contract if they're doing it in the United States.
So, what if they have Dana White so Dana White's not actually the promoter, he's the CEO, right?
Yeah.
Turki Alalshikh is funding this thing.
Mm-hmm.
So what if they do have other promoters? So what if you sign the contract with Turki Alalshikh and you're not signing the contract with the actual promoter, right? And Dana White is not listed he's listed as the CEO. He's not listed as a promoter here, right? So what if they use promoters like what Al Heyman's doing? They could still do do this whole thing with their own belts, this and that, if they're not the actual promoters of the events. They could still apply the Al Heyman model to this. Right?
Yeah, I think now we know why Al Heyman couldn't create his own PBC belt, right?
He still could have if he allowed.
Yeah, but imagine a top-ranked fighter goes over, fights with a PBC belt, right? Walks away with the PBC belt and takes it back to ESPN. Like, again, it wouldn't make sense.
Yeah. He wouldn't have allowed it. Yeah.
Right? So I think that's it. I don't know if there's anything else we need to talk about on this subject. Unless you want to go for an extra topic real quick, and we'll do that. We'll do that one on my channel.
Yeah, the thing is I think
before we do that, hit the subscribe button, guys. If you're new to the channel, to my channel or to Joe's channel, because we're on both channels right now, hit the subscribe button, hit the like button, hit the notification bell, because you want to know every time each of us goes live. And the next time Joe's going to go live, unless he challenges me to around 3 on this topic of a debate, is tomorrow night, 6 p.m. Eastern, 3 p.m. Pacific, 11 p.m. UK time for all you late-night boxing nerds out there in the UK. It's Ringside Reporter Live with Joe Habib and Eric Lorda, the dynamic duo that is Ringside Reporter Live. Make sure you check them out tomorrow. Anything else you want to talk about, Joe?
This was actually a very phenomenal debate.
It was actually.
Wasn't this a great debate?
It was. We've had people commenting in the section saying that they've enjoyed it. Look, we got to the nitty-gritty at the end of the day through discussion, through dialogue, and we've actually figured out a lot of reasons why this might be problematic as a concept, at least in the United States.
What I think is if they have like a league and they have a season every year and it runs for a specific amount of time, I can envision this thing being run like the Contender Series.
The only way I could envision them doing this is if they do it as an annual tournament.
That's what I mean.
You take the 4 or 8 best guys in a division, you put them in a single elimination tournament, right? And they fight it out, or not? Yeah, we'll fight it out for supremacy in a given division that leads to a championship. Kind of like if you're a fan of football, you've got your by football I mean soccer for the people in Anglo North America. You're talking about you got your regular season going on, and then you have your cup tournament, right? So you'll have the regular schedule of boxing, and then you'll have the cup tournament format. The NBA, National Basketball Association here in the United States, kind of experimented with this a little bit in terms of an in-season tournament. So maybe they could do it like that, but they're not going to be able to run any kind of a closed-off tournament as it relates to this. And then make your point, Joe, and then I'm going to go to a super chat because Chico's been dropping us some super chats.
I'm looking at these events here, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like I pulled up Sergio Moro's box rec, and when he fought Peter Manfredo, and this obviously went on his record. It says promoter, Tournament of Contenders LLC. So here's another workaround here. if they decide to call this a league, right? And this is not, and if this is, it's basically like a league and it's a tournament, but this isn't actually like a world title. If this is not considered a world title and it's just considered like a trophy type thing, there's a lot of workarounds here, Maestro. I'm like, so the promoter here is called Tournament of Contenders LLC, right?
Mm-hmm.
And these guys basically fought. I guess this is considered a tournament. So how does the Muhammad Ali Act apply to tournaments? How does it apply to leagues? Right?
That's a good question. I don't know if it applies to tournament, and maybe that's why they're calling this a league.
How does it even apply to leagues?
It's a good question.
We're unpacking a lot of things.
We're unpacking a lot here today. Got to go to the super chat again. Gracias a Don Chico. Saudi government bought a stake in DAZN. Which promoter will DAZN give preferential treatment to going forward? DAZN owner and Saudi have other ventures too. I'll throw that one to you, Joe. Go for it.
Saudi got stake. That's potential conflict of interest. I wouldn't rule that out. Listen, I'm gonna get myself in trouble here because I'm a Turki Alalshikh fanboy, but there's been signs of conflict of interest with him too. Like when he's the promoter of an event and he has neither guy under contract. He's not actually the promoter, but he's the organizer of the event. Mm-hmm. And these guys are like, for instance, he showed favoritism for Tyson Fury over Usyk, and he had both guys under contract. He gave both guys a contract. So if you're giving both guys a contract, and you got both guys under your company working for you, and you show bias towards another person, that's not really cool. Like Eddie Hearn, when he had like Caleb Smith facing Canelo Alvarez, he stayed neutral. Same thing with Billy Joe Saunders and Canelo. He kind of stayed neutral, right? Because he had both guys under contract.
Yeah.
Well, Canelo wasn't technically under contract, but he had a contract for the actual fight. So he was Eddie Hearn was the promoter for Canelo Alvarez for that event. So I guess that there's been conflicts of interest, and same thing with Shiraz when he's sitting there going there, and he's going there and he's telling Shiraz he's down by 2 points, and people are saying he's looking at scorecards from the judge. So he's already shown a bias towards fighters, towards specific fighters when he has all these fighters on the same event. So
you mean like he's running over to Hamza and telling him that he's down on all of the scorecards?
That's what I just said.
And et cetera. Okay.
Yeah.
Joe, I got one more thing for you to react to, and then I think we could call it a day.
All right.
Everybody, hit the link in the description and then come on over. Like I said, Joe, I'm going to end this over here. Thank you, everybody, for tuning in. Hit the like button. Hit the subscribe button. Make sure you check out Joe Habib tomorrow for Ringside Reporter Live. And click that link. One last thing to go over, Joe. I want you to react.